This is April Barber with the 98% Life After Prison podcast. My segments are dedicated to those who perform random acts of kindness that measure on a large scale. Today we will meet a man named Kenneth Mees. I ran across Kenneth Mees, who was on a podcast that I was invited to be a part of. His story was very interesting and remarkable. And he thankfully shared his story with me, and now I'm sharing it with you. So now, without further ado, let's jump right into Kenneth Mees' interview.
Probably 10 years later, after being a correction officer, is when I made some bad choices and ended up in incarceration. And my time as a correction officer was brief. I got certified. I passed all the tests. Nothing I did wrong. I just seen after being there that it wasn't, just like I said when I first started talking, I wasn't a policing side of correction. I was more of the rehabilitation side, and a correction officer is definitely the police side. You have straight from the start of training, they have a us against them mentality. I wasn't there to judge anybody. They had already been judged by the criminal justice system. I was just there to pretty much what policing is supposed to do is protect and serve, and it wasn't a lot of that going on. What I come to find out is a lot of correction officers, they would take their personal animosities out, and things like that. They would do things that they know they wasn't supposed to do, and you was one of the, at the time, light blue, in the light blue, so you stuck together. You it was you against them. They was supposedly criminals, and they was bad people, and me and you both know everybody in prison is not bad people, and I'll never accept convict and criminal. I'll never accept those terminologies. I didn't accept them then, and I don't accept them now. Yes, I am a felon, but I am not a convict. I'm not a criminal, so to speak. So, that's kind of what my thing as a correction officer. And the thing that kind of pushed me out was I just seen I had more, because of my mindset. I had more, never physical problems, just misunderstanding and differences of opinions with my fellow correction officers and some of the tactics and the way things was done. I'll give you a short story. I walked in one day as they coming in on duty, and at that time it was 8 hours, holding 12-hour shifts. So that lets you know how long ago it was. And so I walked in, and generally, when you walk in on a new shift, everybody goes to their bunks or to their rooms, and you count. So it's one particular kid that I did know, and I was at Butner. I was at the youth camp at the time, and as they call it, the gladiator school. But I walked in, and this one particular young man just was bucking, and I'd never seen it. So I just went on, and everybody else went to their thing, and I did my count. And then after I did my count, I took him to the sergeant's office. So as we got to the sergeant's office, I kind of explained. The sergeant was sitting behind his desk, just kind of rocking when I walked in. He looked up, what's going on? And I explained to him what was happening. Hey, the guy didn't want to go to his thing, and he was talking junk and whatever. And he said, "Oh, okay." So he looked at me and he said, "Officer Mees." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I'm sitting here looking, and I think that that inmate is getting ready to attack you. You need to defend yourself." Caught me off guard. I kind of looked at the sergeant, looked at him. Well, the inmate knew what it meant. He knew that sergeant was giving me the green light to, pretty much whoop that young man's butt if I wanted to. And I just calmly stood back and I said, "Nah, Sergeant, I think you're misunderstanding." And I looked at him and I said, "Young man, you're not ready to attack me." He said, "No, sir, no, sir." And he said, "Are you sure, Officer Mees? You sure?" "I think I see it." I said, "Nah, I think it's just a misunderstanding." He said, "All right, we'll take it back to his thing." And that's how he handled that. And I just kind of knew from then, this is not what I want to do for the next 20 years. And I'm not going to say all sergeants and all correction officers are like that, but that was my experience.
Right. So Did something happen before you got on your criminal justice reform path? Did something in your life, growing up or something say, this is kind of the path I want to do? Were you someone that just saw a lot of injustices with minorities growing up and wanted to make a difference? Like, what was your mindset leading up to this?
Well, for me, it was just really as I was a young black man, grew into a older black man at the time. I just remember when I was younger, I was pretty big in sports, and I got a lot of people kind of looked up to me, especially the younger folks, and the older folks gave me my props. And I just always said to myself, if you can catch the youth at an early age, just from broken homes, going through things, and somebody positive in their life, not just trying to punish them, and wants to show them there is a better way and there is things you can do to not continue a cycle, as I like to say, reverse the curse. That was my motive right there. I just felt as much as we were with these young and young men getting incarcerated, young minorities getting incarcerated, if I could be one of the ones there to show them that, hey, there is somebody who cares and they just don't want to lock you up and does want to help you to get to do things to make, as you get older, better and not just get caught up in the system. That was kind of my outlook on it, is that side of it, just pretty much helping young men and young women become get through their young adult, their young life, instead of messing their lives up. So as they go into young adulthood, up to adulthood, it reverses the curse. Now they have had somebody to reach out and help them. So now in return, as they break that curse, they reach out and help somebody. And I guess it's one of those things they used to say back in the communities, each one teach one type thing.
Mm-hmm. So you weren't there long, but how long were you there?
Correction officer?
No, in prison.
Oh, I was only in prison for 3. I say only. I was in prison for 3 years.
Okay, but 3 years is enough to remove you from society to kind of, so you can see what prison really was like, on the inside, as opposed to being a correctional officer. Did you get a lot of flack from your peers when they found out what your previous job used to be?
And that's a great question and a funny question, because when I first, you first go in and you go and you meet your caseworker, and he's going over your stuff and he's talking, and that came up, and he said, "Man, I just don't advise you to let that be known." And I just flat out told him, I said, "Here's the thing." I said, if I ran across any of the guys that I was a correction officer for, I said the first thing they would say is he was fair. Mm-hmm. He did his job, but he didn't overdo his job. He didn't punish us. He was there. We had to respect the uniform he had on, but he never went out of his way to make life hard for us. So no, I was never in fear, and I never ran into anything. I didn't just go openly talking about it, go to the yard. Hey, I was a correction officer,
right.
And I don't remember it ever coming up, with the exception of my caseworker saying something. But yeah, I never was in. I mean, when I knew I was, going to prison, because my charge was a mandatory minimum, I never, oh my God, what am I going to do? I used to be a correction officer. That never crossed my mind. It never crossed my mind to tell them and say, hey, you need to put me in protective custody or nothing like that. So it was nothing that never even crossed my mind.
Did you think that there was enough opportunities in there to rehabilitate yourself while you were in there?
Listen, before my charge, I had a speeding ticket. So I was not what they would call a career criminal. Had I done things that I probably would have went to prison for or jail for and not got caught, of course, just like even each one of us. But I was very respectful. I mean, I grew up in a time that if you did something wrong, you get your butt whooped by the next door neighbor, and then they tell your mom and dad whoop you. But so I grew up in a time of being respectful. And then I played a lot of sports, so I wasn't never gang affiliated. Like I said, never got in trouble. My trouble came as I got older and tended to like, money, and it drove me to some decisions that I shouldn't have made. But no, not really.
Okay. So now that you're out and you are doing on a positive path, I know that you are now definitely the each one teach one. What do you do now to help those who are different, who are homeless, who are, minority, who are formerly incarcerated, justice involved? What do you do to help those, to try to show them a different
Great
path?
question. I am a certified peer support with the state of North Carolina. I work for South Light, but I'm subcontract to NC Works, Wake LRC, which I am in charge of their being a peer support. They don't have one, so they subcontracted me in to be there. I also work with Next Gen, the youth program. I'm also contracted with them through South Light, to which I help. I do every other week, twice a month. I do once a month. I do presentations for at-risk youth that come on, and I do a PowerPoint presentation for them. And NC Works with LRC, like I said, I'm their peer support, and that job pretty much goes from just being a basic peer, if they ask, all the way up to job helping them understand from point A to point Z with a job, from helping them with interviewing, the questions, how to answer questions, everyday living, everyday life of just walking out of incarceration. That's one of the first things I tell the people when I sit down with them, because they don't necessarily know, but I let them know, hey, first things first, I understand the path we're walking because I once walked the path. So and I'm a firm believer. There are two people that are good at what we do, Miss April. There are people that have been incarcerated, and then there's people with big hearts. Outside of that, if your motivation is to make a bunch of money in what we're doing, it's probably not going to happen. If your motivation is to politically put yourself in position, that can happen. But are you taking away from the true value of what that job supposed to be? And that's to help your fellow human being that already has strikes or a strike against them because they are coming from incarceration and starting over.
Yeah. Do you have a big success story, like one person that stands out, one story?
Yeah, I won't call a young man's name.
Sure.
When he came to me, I was actually still, I have a lot of them, but I'm just this guy. We still talk every now and then, and it was two of them, and I'll tell this one. He was opioid dependent bad. I mean, he was down in the dumps, living on the streets. Didn't have wasn't doing anything for his addiction other than still getting high. So man, they this is what South Light used to do to me, and I embraced it. Matter of fact, I told them, I said, all the people that y'all consider quote unquote bad apples or unruly clients, give them to me. Let me have them. And they would like, okay, I am a good sized guy, but that and as you can hear, I got a deep voice, so when I talk bass there, but that wasn't my so much approach. I'm big, so you're going to listen. I got a deep voice, you're going to listen. What I was real. What I am is real. So I hit them with the realistic part of what you're dealing with. So when I get these guys, and I'd say girls, but most of them were guys. They didn't see me really unruly girl. It was most guys, and this one particular guy, he just bucked that, actually kicked him off. And to this day, I think it's still barred from the premises of South Light. I don't think he can go up there, but they did allow him to have a peer support from South Light, but he couldn't go on the premises, and that pretty much came up from I think he was dosing at one time. The wind, he opened the door, had his cup, the wind blew and knocked his cup out of his hand. Of course, he got agitated, got mad, wanted another cup. They seen it fall, so it wasn't like he took it and hit it. And he kind of went off, and they barred him. They said they were scared. A pretty good-sized guy. So when they gave him to me, man, we went at it for a while. And when I say went at it, no fighting or nothing, but he was frustrated. His family, he wasn't with his family. His family was in a whole other city in North Carolina. He was homeless. So as me and him got to get engaged into a plan to turn his life around, we fought. And it's a lot of things that your heart does that is above the job. Like I took that, I literally lived 20, 30 minutes from him, and I met him somewhere every morning to make sure that he got his dose until we could find that. It lasted about a month until we could find a van that got that. That's how important it was for me to see this guy turn his life around. And lo and behold, he got to doing his dosing. He linked back up with his family. Unfortunately, his mother passed, but he got back in her life before she passed, and just, he moved back in with his other half, and I just watched this man go from like just at a point of no return to actively functioning again. And it wasn't an easy ride. From homelessness, got him in the shelter, got kicked down, got him back in the shelter. I mean, it was a ride, but that's why I said your heart has to be into this, because it was times, man, I want to say, the hell with this guy, man. He wants to buck the system. He wants to get upset with me. But, what you have to understand is, first of all, somebody coming off of an opioid addiction is going to be, it's a body thing. It ain't just a mind thing. They physically get sick. Mm-hmm. So I watched him go through all that until he finally got his dosing. And then I watched him start actively seeing that his light at the end of the tunnel, getting into the shelter and looking for jobs, and then eventually getting back with his other half, and then moving back in with her. And we still talk from time to time, and it's still a hard transition. But to this day, man, he'll call me. He'll say, man, I'm still clean, man. I'm still fighting. And me and my wife were trying to get everything, we're trying to get our own place. But it was just to see where he came from to where he is now. Every time I see the phone ring, I kind of get a smile, because I know where that guy came from. I mean, he was at the bottom. Yeah. Like, he was at the bottom.
Lived experience sometimes is the best medicine for someone. It's stronger than any substance use sometimes.
Yep.
It's like the kryptonite? Whatever Well, it's great that you are continuing to do such good work and giving back. Is there any advice or anything you would like to tell the audience of the 98%?
I would tell victims of, that's when I say victims, the people that's coming out of incarceration, I would tell their families, patience. It's not going to, like you told him, you didn't get yourself in the position when you're at overnight, and you're not going to change it overnight. So you have to be patient. And it's actually harder to get yourself back right. It's like I told him, you're going to have friends that's going to see you clean and going to offer you drugs to where they used to make you want to buy them, because some misery loves company. So you have to be disciplined enough and know where you came from to get where you're trying to go to. So I would just tell anybody that's dealing with a loved one that's incarcerated, that may be getting out, for somebody that's incarcerated, just be patient. And one thing I can honestly say, when I got out, like these programs like Wake LRC, they wasn't around. They wasn't around. The one thing that I had in my favor, I was a veteran, so I could go to some veteran services. And I did get, I did have a guy, and I'm going to shout his name out. I don't know his last name, Derek. He's a veterans rep at Wake LRC, and he was awesome. He's seen my drive, and he's seen what I wanted to do, and he matched that energy. And that's one of the things I always tell the clients that I deal with. If you give me 100, if you give me 100%, I'll give you 110. No, I'll give you 100, you give me 100%. And that 10% has to be you doing everything you have to do. I'll match any programs you need, anything I can get you to, I will. But you have to give an extra percent, because this is your life that you're changing.
Yeah, I agree. That's great. Well, thank you. This has been Mr. Kenneth Mees, This is the 98% Life After Prison podcast, on a mission with a purpose. See y'all next time, and thank you, Mr. Mees.
And thank you, Ms. April.